Hello, microbiologists. Let's talk about viruses real quick. Okay, minuscule acellular infectious little agents. They have either DNA or RNA. You will notice this when you're studying for your quiz. DNA or RNA, it's an option. They cause infections of humans, animals, plants, and other bacteria. And they cause most of the diseases that plague the industrialized world. Good times. Okay, they don't actually carry out metabolic activity. They neither grow nor respond to the environment. They cannot reproduce independently. They have to be inside a host. And they recruit the cell's own metabolic pathways to increase their numbers. They have no cytoplasmic membrane, no cytosol, no organelles. They do have an extracellular and an intercellular state. We'll talk about that, what they look like. Okay, the extracellular state, called a virion. They have a protein coat called a capsid. So this is the capsid, and it protects the nucleic acid that's usually inside. So the outside is called the capsid, and then you have the nucleic acid there. More pictures. Some have a phospholipid envelope. Here's another picture. This outer layer is sometimes a phospholipid envelope. Most of them have a phospholipid envelope. These are these little spike projections. Remember when you saw COVID-19 and they had these spikes? Those are called spike projections. This is the capsid, right? This is the protein capsid, also enveloped in a phospholipid envelope. And sometimes it has these little spike projections on it. So sometimes it's going to look like this. Most of the time it's going to look like this. This is the phospholipid envelope, and sometimes it has these spike projections. That's why this is what COVID-19 looked like. Okay, the inside the intracellular state is the virus that exists as a nucleic acid, right? This is your DNA or your RNA, depending on what you are dealing with. Again, another picture of that. Okay, genetic material. So they show more variety in the nature of their genomes than do regular cells. They're the primary way that scientists categorize and classify the viruses. You will notice this when you are studying your note cards. It may be DNA or RNA, and of the DNA or the RNA, it may be double-stranded DNA, single-stranded DNA, double-stranded RNA, single-stranded RNA. They can be linear or circular, and they're much smaller than the genome of most cells. Here's an example of a viral genome, and here's the genome of E. coli. So you can see it's a much smaller situation. The hosts of viruses, sometimes you. Most viruses infect only particular host cells, so only parts of your cells will be infected. Due to the affinity of a viral surface protein for complementary proteins, so they're looking for those hosts. Maybe it only affects your lungs. Maybe it only affects your urinary tract. Maybe it only affects your nose. Sometimes they're so specific that they only infect a particular kind of cell in a very specific host. There are viral generalists, which infect many kinds of cells in many different hosts, but there are some that look at very specific types. All organisms are susceptible to some kind of virus. No organism is immune. Here is some plant viruses, some bacterial viruses, human host viruses. Okay, let's talk about that capsid. So again, these are the spike projections that you sometimes see. This is the capsid. Sometimes it's enclosed in an envelope, right? So the capsid is this part. Sometimes it's enclosed in an envelope. Sometimes that envelope has spikes on it. But the main part is going to be your genome, your DNA or RNA, and it's going to have this outside capsid. It's composed of subunits called capsomeres, which may be made of single or multiple proteins, right? Single or multiple, just in case. But this is the capsid. This is the capsomeres composed of that. Sometimes it's in an envelope, sometimes it's not. Shapes. Most shapes you'll see kind of are one of these two, right? This is the enveloped kind. This is your COVID-19 one that you'll see. Some look a little bit more linear, like a weird geometric. Almost a lot of them look like this. This is a bacteriophage. You'll see this a lot. Viruses can be classified by viron shape. 3 basic types: the helical shape, the complex shape, and these are both the polyhedral shaped. So you'll see that also on your note cards, how they're shaped. This is what they look like in real life. Here's your bacteriophage. This is the kind that you see a lot because it has a little head and a tail, and then it sends the genome out through the bottom. It's very cool. Okay, the viral envelope acquired from the host cell during viral replication or release. We'll go through a quick video of how they replicate. The envelope portion is a membrane, right? So again, here's your membrane. It's not always encased in a membrane. It usually is. And that is a phospholipid membrane. And it has these little spikes or glycoproteins. But most people call them spikes. Again, the envelope proteins and glycoproteins play a role in host recognition. These guys recognize a very specific host. Remember we said some will like only look for your lungs or your trachea or nose or a very specific place that it's going to infect, and these spikes or glycoproteins have the receptors on the end to figure out which ones those are. Envelope viruses are actually more fragile than naked viruses because this phospholipid bilayer can let things in and out, and the glycoproteins are susceptible as well. Here's some different types. So why are naked viruses able to crystallize? There's some talk about crystallization, but we're not going to go into crystallization much. Just know that naked viruses are just more durable, harder to kill, if you will. They can crystallize because they have a regular symmetrical structure, and that symmetry allows the particles to pack together in a repeated pattern, which forms crystals, and that makes them harder to kill, or a little more durable, if you will. Again, your classification, when you look at your virus note cards, it's going to be the type of nucleic acid, so DNA, RNA, single-stranded, double-stranded. Does it have an envelope? Does it not? What kind of shape is it? And how big is it? Right? Those are your 4 classifications of viruses. The genera, right, like genus and species, have only been organized into families recently. Relationships among viruses are not well understood by taxonomists because this is a lot of just DNA and RNA. There's some families. Again, you will see this when you look at your note cards. You've got herpes, you've got chicken pox, you've got hepatitis. These are DNA viruses, right? Then you have your RNA viruses. You've got yellow fever. You've got the common cold, coronavirus. You've got leukemia. You've got rabies down here. All kinds of good stuff. So those, again, will be part of your note card, and it'll tell you. So this would be an RNA. It's single-stranded.
Viruses are agents capable of infecting cells and reproducing, but it can be argued whether a virus is alive or just a complex group of molecules, since it requires a host cell in order to reproduce. Whether they are alive or not, they're able to co-opt the host cell's machinery in order to do the bidding of the virus, the replication of the genetic material of the virus, as well as the structural elements that package and protect the genetic materials and enable the virus to infect new host cells. There are many different types of viruses infecting a large range of host cells. They all follow the same general life cycle, with variations in the details of how each accomplishes its replication.
So that will be the next video. Stay tuned for the next video.